Hello, Halos Gaming here, bringing you another burner guide. Today we have the Anomic Agent Angel. This is personally my favorite agent to do, as if you can do it back to back, it is the most lucrative agent to do, as it is the fastest. The other really cool part of this one is that it is against a Dremio, and the fitting is actually the cheapest of all the burners. So this is one of the easier ones to get into. The fitting requirements are kind of low. Just the bar to do this one is really low. I also have an active fit, which I'll go over at another time, that has a lot more time to survive. With the change to the hardeners that happened in April, we actually didn't end up changing the fit because we didn't have hardeners on the ship. So this is a really simple one. It's basically going to be redoing a video that I did a little while ago, shortly before that balance pass happened, but I digress. Anyways, this is my favorite one. How the Angel Burner tries to beat you is it likes to get in close and move fast, so it tries to signature tank you with its really high speed and high tracking. We counter that by getting acquiring range control with the Daredevil. We'll go over the fitting first. We pick a Daredevil for one simple reason, and that's because when you show the Daredevil here, it's got a Stasis Webifier effectiveness bonus. As you train the Mimitar skill up to 4 and 5, you gain range control when you have a Devil Web, making it so that we can actually have range control with it and control where the engagement range is, thus giving us a huge advantage over it. That's pretty much why we picked the Daredevil. We'll go into the fit here. The fit's really easy. It is 2 light neutron blasters, highest DPS guns that we can get. And then we have 2 Stasis Webifiers. One's a tier 2 and one's a fleeting compact. You can use 2 fleeting compacts, or you can metaplasmoid some to make cheap ones that have less CPU requirement. We are a little tight on CPU, but there are a couple things that we can do. And then we have a Republic Fleet medium shield booster. The Republic Fleet gives us a slightly more shields than the regular standard tier 2 or the large or the medium FS9, which would be the alternative. And then we have 3 magnetic field stabilizers and a coprocessor. If you have CPU issues, you can switch one of these to a Vortex magnetic field stabilizer, saving you 10 CPU for each one you change the Vortex. It loses you a little bit of DPS, but with the recent DPS buff, that happened at the same time as the hardener change with Void. Losing that DPS isn't going to hurt you at all, and you'll still be able to do the mission just fine. And then for the rigs, we have a EM Shield Enforcer, a Small Core Defense Field Extender, and a Small Explosive Shield Enforcer. This gives us just enough HP to survive long enough to kill it. And again, the cost is less than 100 million-esque. If you want to go super fancy, you can do 3 magnetic field stabilizers and or Federation Navy magnetic field stabilizers and a tracking enhancer in the low, which will increase your applied DPS significantly, making this chip even faster, but it makes the cost 400 million-esque versus this 100 million-esque fit, which I don't see a reason to make this faster. You'll see what I mean when I go in there. For the skills, it's a really easy fit. It might require good skills, but there's a range of success and failure when you have skills to 5 versus when you have them to 4. And I'll kind of show you guys how the fight goes and explain things that go wrong. The first skill that is absolutely required is going to be Mimitar Frigate Train to 4. This will give you that Webifier bonus that I was talking about and make your web significantly stronger. 4 gives you range control, assuming that you have the navigation skills there. And then the Galente skill gives you additional turret fall off, meaning you can go further away from the Daredevil or further away from the Dremio. If you're closer to the Dremio, he does more damage to you, and as you pull range on him, he does less and less damage. And you kind of gotta having the Galente frigate widens that window where you're more effective than he is to a degree where you can kill him. If you're too far away, he does more damage than you do. If you're too close, he does way more damage than you do. You kind of have to play in that Goldilocks zone, and I'll explain the Goldilocks zone really quickly when we get into it. So that's why the Galente frigate bonus is important. You want this to 3 or 4 at least. 5 is ideal, obviously, but you can't always get 5. It's one of those things that are on the bottom of the list to get. But getting Galente Frigate 5 also enables you to fly the Enyo for another burner. So it is recommended. And then the Mimitar Frigate bonus, of course, it really only helps with the Daredevil, but we do use the Daredevil in a few situations. and the Webifier bonus is absolutely fantastic. In navigation, we just basically need navigation to 4 or 5. This increases your speed. We don't use an afterburner, so we don't need anything else trained up. It's just literally navigation to 4. This is one of the Magic 14 skills, and it is only a 256 skill. It's a 1x skill. This is a very easy skill to train. It helps literally every single ship you fly. So I recommend training this to 5, though you can get away with it to 4. In engineering, we're going to need weapon upgrades trained to 4 or 5, and advanced weapon upgrades trained to 4 or 5, depending on how much fitting you have left. For some of you guys, you may not be able to fit that. With two power grid left, I think 4 is required, is what that tells me. I can't quite remember exactly what the requirement is, but training advanced weapon upgrades to 4 would be required. I think 5 helps, and it makes it a little bit easier. And then also capacitor management and capacitor emissions or systems of operation needs to be 4 to have decent capacitor. We are stable here. You don't need stability. This fight's really short. CPU management and power grid management would be required to 5 for this one. I also recommend thermodynamics at least to 3 so that you can overheat, because overheating can save you. I always overheat in this mission. I'll show you how and why in the demonstration. And that's really it for the engineering tab. Next we go into armor, or actually shield. You want shield compensation, or no, it is not shield management to 5. Shield management gives you additional shield capacity or shield tank. So shield capacity is critical. Shield operation helps, but it doesn't do a lot. We're talking 5% reduction in shield recharge time, which gives you a little, like 2 or 3 HP a second. The Fit doesn't have a lot of HP per second on passive recharge. It's only 13, and that doesn't really do a lot. If you have it to 3, it'll only have like 12 or even 10 if it's like not trained at all. But it's really important that you train shield management up. The other shield skills aren't really required. In armor, mechanics giving you additional structure hit points, and what is it? Hull upgrades? Yeah, hull upgrades giving you additional armor hit points can help you as well. As sometimes we do bleed through our shields, and we then become dependent on our armor and hull HP when that happens to survive. I've had this one where I survived 3%, and I've had it where I have 50% shields remaining. There's a variance in here. There's a bit of RNG. So I've had that whole entire range, and I've lost the ship several times too. It's really cheap, so it's easy to replace. That's why we can be a little bit laxer on the skills, but having hull upgrades and mechanics will increase your chances of survival. They'll be above 90%, but it will increase it up to that 90, 95, 100% survival rate. Targeting doesn't need anything. In gunnery, we do really want the tier 2 blasters. So getting small hybrid turret trained to 5 is required for that, and then after small hybrid turret to 5, we have small hybrid or small blaster specialization just needs to be trained to 1 for that. And then all of the gunnery support skills, motion prediction, sharpshooter, rapid firing, trajectory analysis, and surgical strike. And then lastly, which is optional for capacitor if you feel it's necessary, controlled bursts are really helpful with this mission as well, because you want as much applied DPS as possible. Higher DPS, the better, the more likely you are to survive. Again, getting from that 90% survival rate all the way up to the 100% or 99.9 to 100% survival rate is what getting these skills will do. Electronic systems, we need, it's not electronic warfare, it is propulsion jamming. It gives you less capacitor use per level of Stasis Webifier. For the tier 2 Stasis Webifier, we need this to 4. And then in rigging, shield rigging does help, but it doesn't make a night and day difference. It makes your signature slightly smaller, which makes you take slightly less damage, and it's not a big deal. That was really detailed on the skills. Basically, if you can fly this and fit it and have like 450 DPS on it, or even as low as 400, you should be fine. We have 500 cold. When we overheat, this brings us up to 580, baby. It's an insane amount of DPS, so we always overheat for that extra 20% DPS. Fantastic. So the demonstration is actually really easy. We overheat the gun, we go in, and then we're going to be met with Dremion. You got about 30 seconds to do something, and you don't have much to do. You're going to lock them up, and then you're going to keep at range. Our keep at range default is set at 2 kilometers. It might be 17.5 for you, and it might be 1,500 for you. The further you go, the better off you can be, but you want to be somewhere not very much further than your optimal range here. And this is my Goldilocks zone. As you can see, he is halfway dead. He's a shield tank, and we're about halfway through our shields as well. And we're just gonna, it's over. That's it. That's Angel Burner. We beat him. Just like that. It's that quick. If you have lesser gunnery skills, it can take a little bit longer if your optimal range isn't quite as far. I tell people to keep it range at 2 kilometers, as that's a sweet spot. But if you don't have as much optimal range, you might want to be a little bit closer. If your fall off is closer to 3, you might want to be using, you might want to be getting a little bit closer. But you got to remember his optimal is 500, so the closer you get, the more damage you're going to take. But if you have 400 or more DPS, it's really easy to run. With 400 DPS over, he gives you like 450, and you still kill him ridiculously fast. You really have to mess up and not pay attention for him to be able to actually kill you. As you can see, we're at half shields. We did that correctly. Even if I approached him and then realized that I had him approach when I was at like 50 or 10% shields, and I then opened up the gap, the armor and shields remaining is enough to keep me alive. So there's a lot of room for you to kind of make mistakes in this one. And the fit is cheap, so if you don't think you can do it, try it. Worst case, you lose 100 mil. Best case, you now have another burner to run. With that being said, make sure you fly fun. Enjoy your time in EVE Online, because I know I do. So I hope you do as well. And like, comment, and subscribe in the video below. And I also stream on Twitch Monday through Friday at 11 to 2 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check me out there if you want to learn more. And we will see you guys in the next one.